Hi, I'm Darryn Farrugia and welcome. So if you're anything like many of the other Beatles fans and musicians around the world, you would have spent maybe a few nights watching the fantastic documentary series by Peter Jackson called Get Back. I kind of OD'd on this, and I've been ODing on the Beatles ever since, and I've been really enjoying listening to the Beatles' Let It Be album. It's really kind of changed my perspective on that record. So one of the songs on that record, which is a George Harrison song, is called I, Me, Mine, and it consists of two different grooves. George Harrison found the inspiration to write this song based on a waltz that he heard the night before. So he was thinking in 3/4. So I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to play you the first groove. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now that groove can be counted as 3/4, it can be counted as 6/8, it can be counted as 12/8. More commonly, I would say that's a kind of 12/8 groove. But George was thinking in 3, so we're going to think of that in 3 today. The second groove that occurs, which is the chorus, is a shuffle, and that's at a completely different tempo. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I should also make a disclaimer here. These aren't exactly note for note the way the grooves are played as per Ringo Starr. So I'm just making approximations here, but I want you to think of those two grooves, two different tempos. Now, these two tempos are actually related. And this is what's known as a metric modulation. Now, there are a lot of videos online explaining what metric modulation is. I'm going to leave a link to Mike Johnston's video, which is a great video on metric modulation. So I'm going to leave a link to that in the description below. Basically, what metric modulation is a change of tempo from one tempo to another where those two tempos are actually related. So for example, if I went from a half-time groove to a double time groove, something like this. Etc. That is a metric modulation of some kind. So in that case, it's actually just a double time, twice as fast modulation. The one that we're going to look at today is in 3/4, going from 6/8 or 3/4 into a shuffle. So what I want to do now is explain to you how these two different grooves are linked. We want to get from that 3/4 groove into that shuffle groove, and there's a very simple and interesting way to go about this. So at the moment we're thinking in 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. To get to the shuffle and the new tempo, we're going to play a little rhythm, and this is the rhythm that Ringo plays on the ride cymbal. The rhythm is 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and... So Ringo uses that device to get from the 3/4 to the shuffle. That rhythm, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and, occurs 4 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count the first 2 times as 2 bars of 3, and then I'm going to adapt my counting so that the second 2 bars of 3 becomes 1 bar of 4/4. Confusing? I know. I'm going to demonstrate this for you. I'm going to give you a 2-bar count in 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll get us into the 4/4. So let's give this a go. I'm going to play 4 bars of 3/4 of that groove, followed by 4 bars of that ride cymbal pattern, which is going to be the link that gets us into the shuffle, and then I'll go into the shuffle from there. So this is the first part of the exercise. 2 bars of 3 in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Did that make sense? So we're using that little device to get us from the 3/4 into the 4/4. Now somehow we need to get back from the 4/4 back to the 3/4. And this is really simple. Basically what Ringo does here, he plays a crotchet triplet or a quarter note triplet starting on beat 3 to get us back into the waltz. So when you hear that crotchet triplet, you could hear that as the new tempo going back into the waltz. So let me give you an example of what that is. I'm going to play 4 bars of shuffle with the crotchet triplet in the 4th bar starting on beat 3, and you'll hear how I'm using this as a device to get back into the 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 2 linkages are really important. So we've got that little linkage that gets us into the shuffle, and then coming out of the shuffle, we're just using that crotchet triplet or quarter note triplet to get us back into the 3/4. I'm going to play this as an exercise, just going between the first groove and the second groove with that modulation device to get us into those new tempos. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So what I'm going to do now is set up a metronome. I'm going to put some headphones in and I'm going to play this exercise with the metronome. I'm going to set the metronome to 180 beats per minute. That's kind of roughly the tempo of the song. I think the tempo of the song in the recording itself kind of shifts around a bit. The Beatles never used click tracks on their albums. So 180, and what you will hear is when I modulate from the 3/4 into the shuffle, all of a sudden that metronome's going to sound like it's playing quarter note triplets. So have a listen to this, check it out. It's a really great exercise for you to work on your time. No different to working on a groove where you're going from normal time to double time and back. So this is an exercise for you to try. I'm going to leave a link to the PDF that accompanies this video in the description below. Anyway, here we go. Here's the exercise. So that's the metric modulation. Now, metric modulation is used in a lot of different kinds of music, but you never really think of this kind of concept or this technique used in a Beatles song. And it's quite amazing to know that that's exactly the device that the Beatles used to get from the first tempo to the second tempo. Now, if you're a little nerdy about this, I did my sums this morning and I'm hoping I got this right, but the difference between the 2 tempos is either multiplied by 1.5 or divided by 1.5. So the first tempo, as I said, is 180 beats per minute. The second tempo is 120 beats per minute, so the shuffle is played at 120 beats per minute. So if you take that 180 beats per minute and divide that by 1.5, you'll arrive at 120 beats per minute, and vice versa. If you start at 120 beats per minute and you multiply that by 1.5, you'll end up at 180. something to think about when you're trying to work out tempos within metric modulations that work this way. So that's the lesson for this week. It's a good one. If you haven't checked out that documentary series yet, I urge you to have a look at it, because seeing the Beatles in their creative space or their creative spaces, Twickenham Studios, Apple Studios and the rooftop, it's fascinating to see them at work. My favourite band, and I'm just really on a Beatles bender at the moment. So yeah, check out that documentary series and check out the Let It Be album. Even the Naked version, Let It Be Naked, is just such a great album, such a great sounding album too. The remixes are just beautiful. So anyway, have a great week. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit the like button, and remember to hit that notification bell so that you know when I've uploaded a video, which is every week. So until next week, have a great week. Happy modulating. See you all soon. Bye.
Oh, that was very nice. And it goes something like this.